All right, welcome to the Corner Kick with Nick and Rick. I am Nick Prokop, your host. With me is my other host, Rick Thomas. Rick, how are you doing today?
Good evening, Nick. I'm doing great. Just had a good rain shower, rainstorm, whatever, and talking about the beautiful game.
Oh, yes, we love soccer. And for those that don't know, we used to co-host together with the MPSL radio show on No Static. MPSL is the fourth tier of the U.S. soccer divisions. It was a fun time with Rick and I, but unfortunately that had to come to an end. So we are here podcasting for you guys now. And we're going to talk about what we want to talk about, not what we're told to talk about.
Yes.
But Rick, you want to talk about yourself real quick and tell people about your fandoms and how you got involved in soccer before I do, and then we'll get on to the news and topics.
Well, I'll give you the Cliff Notes version. I was, I was introduced to the game in my, my tween years, if you will, and from that moment on, I followed it through the '94 World Cup. That was big. MLS coming along. Right around that time, matches were being shown here in the States from over in Europe and Mexico. And I just followed the sport, and because I found out that, hey, this is a year-long thing as leagues overlap.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Between leagues and national teams, I just like, hey, I love the sport.
And yeah, exactly. And that's the same with me. It just there's almost always soccer going on in the world. There's either Australia at midnight or like you watching Japan at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
But yeah, the same feel for me at a young age. I kicked the ball around with my father out in the yard, and I never knew soccer would have this much of an impact on my life this time, this later on in my life. But no, we both love the Crew. We both love Columbus. We both love a lot of different teams. But one of the things is we just like talking about the beautiful game. And to kind of get going onto the topics here, like we just said, we like MLS clubs. Montreal Impact have made to the CCL final against Club America. I'm shocked.
Yeah,
I'm shocked.
It is shocking, especially considering the track record that, if you know the track record of Frank Klopas led teams, it hasn't been that well, mainly with the Chicago Fire. But giving that, one thing that's helped him in Montreal is he's gotten a very nice support from the front office.
True.
And to allow him to mold a team that he wants to mold. And they're just doing their thing in the Champions League. They're truly a Cinderella story.
Well, it's weird for me watching this team because it's almost like a nice mix of young and old.
Yes.
You have some guys like Marco Donadel from Italy that we both know. Yes. You have veterans of MLS in Bakary Soumare holding that back line. You have a veteran Belgian center back who's still being called up by the Belgian national team, mind you.
Right.
In Laurent Simon. And you got I heartbreaker in Cameron Porter getting injured because his golazo, it was the goal of the tournament, in my opinion. Yes. It was just so fantastic, and they're gonna have to probably turn to like a Maduro up top, and we both know firsthand how that goes.
Right.
He does get goals, but they're in bunches and spread apart. So if he might not be hitting a lot of goals against Club America, and that's the other side of this coin here. We're talking about one of the primo Mexican clubs here.
Oh my gosh, they're close to the Yankees down there, probably.
Yeah, exactly. They're the Yankees at Liga MX. So it's one of those things for Montreal to be able to even hold their own against Club America will be interesting to see. I don't have no faith in them whatsoever, especially after what Club America did in the semifinals.
Oh, gosh.
By halftime, it was, 5-0? It was just insane. But no, I'm proud of them in the sense that it's a team that underachieves and has underachieved since they joined MLS. So to go into CONCACAF Champions League, which, mind you, for those that don't know, it's not because they're a good team in MLS. It's because they won the Canadian Championship is how they got in. but for me, I just think it's going to be a rough go for them. I think Montreal is just going to get destroyed by Club America, but hey, they're in.
As long as the old, I don't like to be cliche, but as long as you're in it, you have a fighting chance.
Yeah. Well,
And they really, really need to get a result down in Azteca of some kind.
oh yeah,
You preferably they would want to win out, but if they can get that away goal, that's so vital down there, and it's
true.
gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough because you're dealing with
Oh,
the crowd, the altitude. Now the smog is not that bad as it used to be, based on some things I read. It's still there, but it's not as bad as LA, Houston smog.
yeah,
So the
exactly.
smog that has improved, but the altitude is going to affect them. And then just the Azteca has an aura to it in
Hmm.
itself.
Yeah,
The thing that helps Montreal, in my opinion, is that you had brought it up was their veteran leadership,
yeah.
especially those foreigners, the foreign players like your Ria Coker, Simon, Piatti, and Donadel. Now, what if they've played in big time derbies?
Hmm.
They played in, maybe for their national team, and they know what pressure means. So they have that
Exactly.
working for them. you
Well,
know,
and for me too, when it comes down to it, you just mentioned probably the biggest X factor for Montreal Impact in the sense of Ignacio Piatti.
yeah,
He's
he
such a
is
key
definitely.
factor to their offense and pushing the ball forward. Normally, they only play with one striker, so you need that maestro in the middle to be the engine of the offense. And so, if it's going to be him and say a Duro in the front, you need Piatti to get other guys forward and just make the right passes. Um, you mentioned a little Azteca there. And for U.S. men's national team fans, they'll understand that Azteca is really difficult to play in. And you mentioned the weather, the smog, all that other stuff, the altitude. But for me, it's also the crowd noise. You're going to have a ton of Club America fans there. They're all going to be loud and screaming. And it's if
Yeah,
they could come out with a draw, I will applaud them, even if they
right.
lose the final, because it's really hard. People don't realize that they don't remember that the last time U.S. played there was the first time they ever won there with the Michael Orozco goal.
Yeah,
Um,
yes,
but that's just how difficult it is. We're going to move on from Montreal and Club America. We'll talk a little bit more when that match actually happens.
yes.
But we just wanted to give them props due to the fact that it's just it's only the second MLS team to ever make the CCL final, in the
Mm-hmm.
sense that RSL was there in 2011 or was it 2010?
11, I want to say.
I think it was because they won the cup in 2010.
Yes.
We'll talk a little bit more about the Manchester Derby when we get to it. But the one topic I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about is Manuel Pellegrini.
Yes.
Uh, it's weird because when he was brought in for the job at Manchester City, I really thought he was finally going to be that guy for City after going through Mark Hughes, Roberto Mancini, and a bunch of other managers. That this was going to be the guy that would stir the drink and make them a consistent champion, or at least a consistent team at the top.
Mm,
Which, yeah, they have been at the top, but my biggest issue is they didn't seem to address their needs correctly, and I
right.
think it has a lot to do with him and his system. He doesn't have a lot of depth in certain areas now, and that's one of the reasons why they fell from 2 to 4th.
Yes.
So if they stay in this position, do you think he's still their manager next year?
Sunday, well, one game at a time. Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
the Derby match is, many are saying that's gonna be his his judgment day, if you will. But you can't just base it off of that. You have to base it on their pattern of behavior in the
True.
league. Granted, they've been up in the top half, top five or so, but you don't, for a club like that, you have to win trophies and cups.
True. True.
And so with that being said, some of, like you mentioned, some of the signings for
Mm-hmm.
him have not really panned out. Uh, and it's like, what is their identity under him as a club? Yeah, you have all these big names and all, but what's your calling card? What is it that you bring your roster to scare other teams into respecting you. Um, they they're not in shambles because again
Mhm.
of their position in the table, but for one, your rival just passed you up in the table.
Yeah.
And
Rival that's been struggling too, mind you.
yeah, and it's not like Manchester United have been juggernauts. I mean,
Yeah.
they've done what they had to do to climb up slowly but surely. Um, it's we'll see what happens after Sunday.
Yeah.
I'm gonna base it off of that because he's under so much pressure as is now. Uh, that defeat at Crystal Palace.
Oh God. I was just sitting there going, Rebecca Lowe, because I'm sure she loved it. Yeah, I will talk a little bit more about the Manchester Derby here in a little bit, but over to our MLS teams. Wednesday midweek action yesterday, we had Columbus Crew playing in Vancouver against what's being dubbed the hottest team in MLS right now. And
Yes.
honestly, I kind of agree because
It showed.
watching, oh yeah, they had possession like crazy in that game, and we'll talk about that right now. Well, with the Whitecaps and the Crew, it was just for me the biggest issue, and I feel like the Caps should have came out with a win there,
Yeah.
even though both teams missed a lot of sitters. That was regarded, in my opinion, a lot of a B team for the Crew because they had Tyson Wall playing, they had
Yeah.
Chris Clutie playing, they had Jimenez playing in front of instead of Chad Barson for Grana on the right back. So, and Betsby's obviously for the suspended Federico Higuain. For me, I just am shocked because I didn't expect a 2-2 draw. I figured if the Crew were coming away with a point, it'd be a 1-1 or 0-0 type of draw. I don't know how you're feeling about that, though.
The one thing I noticed that stood out in my mind, both teams were entertaining in the fact that they turned possessions into chances. And granted, a lot of the chances were missed, but anytime you turn up, you obtain the ball and you move the ball as both of these teams did in their own way, and you provide a chance, you're gonna put up a 2-2 draw like you showed, and it
True.
could have been more goals. Um, Columbus started out that first half. It was like, wow, are they gonna get possession?
Yeah.
It's like I tend to say, Vancouver was on the power play. It seemed.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and they even said that was the lowest percentage of possession ever in the Berhalter era so far, and I think it was 35% possession for the Crew.
Yeah, and part of that was again because of Higuain's absence.
Yeah,
Another
exactly.
part of that was the speed of Vancouver is just ridiculous. They're
Oh
like
yes.
they're like a track team out there, and then when Kukuta Mane came into the game, it was like, oh my gosh, more speed. And part of the reason that gave Columbus trouble was because their two wing backs weren't available in Francis and Grana. Uh, not saying Clutie and Barson, for example, didn't do a bad job, but the speed just overwhelmed
Oh
them.
yeah. Well, and at first, before when I knew Francis wasn't playing and I knew Grano wasn't probably gonna travel,
Yeah,
I honestly, the original post by the Crew was that Clutie was going to play right back, which he
right.
can do. And
Yeah,
honestly, I felt like, okay, that's good idea because at least between him and Jimenez, because Jimenez started at right back, I would have gone with him just based on keep up with Amane. When we find out that Kakuta Mane didn't start, I was kind of like, okay, whatever, that's fine. But then
yeah.
you still have Darren Maddox, and you still have all this other speed, and you have Rivero up top just
Oh gosh.
peppering Steve Clark.
Yes.
I think he had at least 5 shots in the first half alone on Steve. Which honestly, Steve Clark, after signing his new deal, he admirable job.
Yeah, he did. He did.
I wouldn't have given any of the defensive players for the Crew any high points at all.
Right.
Even the captain, Michael Parkhurst, wasn't too good. I was a little shocked at first with Padu Maduka having to come in for Diego Rodriguez. I did not find out after the match what was wrong with Diego. But it seemed like it actually kind of settled down the defense a little bit because of Ka being a veteran
Right.
older guy that's been experienced in the league. So him and Kendall Watson kind of had a better communication towards the end there too, whenever there was a little bit of an attack from the crew. But yeah, actually, I was shocked that he wasn't starting from the get go. One of the key things for the crew that was intriguing for me was when Trap came off at halftime. To me, that was probably the biggest defensive mistake in my opinion. Yeah, you want to keep. He's just coming off an injury. You want to keep him fresh for a game, not only a couple days later against New England in Massachusetts, but at the same time, that's where I think a lot of the defense fell apart, is you didn't have the whole Trap and Chani chemistry right in front of the back line. Because when those two are playing well, that whole engine works and will kind of mask players like Tyson Wall, who are, I say that he's not very great. I'm not sure your opinion on Tyson Wall, but I have him as the top 5 worst defenders in the league.
Yeah, and well, Parkhurst also had a slow. I felt he had a slow start, but he really gained it back because he was so used to covering for whatever mistakes was happening defensively. He got used to that and he settled in, and he's like, hey, I'm going to save your butt this time. I'm going to save your butt this time. So he kind of helped save Wall a few times in that defense, but there's only one thing one man can do. So,
and Wall wasn't really filling in the Emmanuel Bogatet role of being the very physical center back and bodying up on the strikers, whereas Wall was just kind of lost or mismarking his guys, and he doesn't have the speed to be out of position. So if you're going to be out of position, you need to be making sure you're marking someone instead of being in the middle of anywhere. But no, Whitecaps, great job. Rivero just looks fantastic.
Oh, Rivero is you don't want to get too naive, but I can see him being the MVP if he keeps.
I could see it. A team MVP of last year for them was definitely Pedro Morales, and even him, he had a couple of nice shots that if he would have had a little better control on them, they would have been beautiful goals. But I really think that the whole dubbing of them as the hottest team in MLS right now is definitely true. Based on from what I've seen, and it's funny looking at what they've done since the first match, because after the first match of losing to Toronto, it was kind of like, well, maybe the Whitecaps aren't as good as we thought. But then after that, they just went on a tear from each match, and obviously they're at the top of the rankings when it comes to the Supporter Shield also.
Yes.
We'll put a pin in the whole reviewing matches now and move on to some more MLS action. But for this coming weekend, we have 3 major matchups we're going to talk about. One of them being 1 versus 2 in the East this Saturday for New York Red Bulls and DC United. Oh, wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. All right, before we go to that, actually, we're not done reviewing. We're going to review a little bit of Coppa Italia. Why did I miss that up? But, hey, Coppa Italia happened a little bit this weekend. We're down to the final. The semifinals this week. Lazio won with Sednan Lulic. You're the better pronunciator here. So if I screw anything up, blame Rick.
You're looking for the
name of the goal scorer for Lazio. I think Lulic.
Man, hold on, let me.
While you're looking that up, it was for Juventus versus Fiorentina 3-0. Matri, Pereira, and Bonucci were the goal scorers for Juventus. I had a feeling that was going to happen as Juventus would get in. I was, as personally, some people know I do like Napoli. I was a little disappointed, but, Napoli is very disappointing anyways, but we're going to preview one of their matches too, so I'm not going to talk too much about Napoli. But for me, Lazio getting in, they've had a really strong season. They're third in the table. That's going to be a good matchup. The one point of note, though, is with Lazio and Juventus getting into the Coppa Italia final, they're both in the places for Champions League. So that makes the 6th place spot in Serie A, which is right now Napoli, a Europa League spot. So they'll probably get into the qualifying for Europa League, which is nice. Did you have the name for me?
He is Ulich.
Ulich, okay. I had a feeling when I was looking at it, I was saying it wrong.
Your thoughts? Some people might say Lulich, some people might say Ulich. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Your thoughts on Coppa Italia, Rick?
It's Lazio's the shocker.
Yeah.
They're obviously the huge underdog in this final coming up. Their road to get there. They caught Lazio caught Napoli at a good time actually
Oh
because
yes.
Napoli's going through a lot of they're kind of similar to Manchester City, and they're not in their own standard they're in a crisis,
Yeah.
but in terms of maintaining their position in the league, but just their trend and how they've been performing in the league. And then they
Oh
come
yeah.
to this Coppa Italia match. I mean, the ultras were pretty much not there. It's kind of like it feels like a lame duck for Rafa
Yeah.
because
I think he's done.
they know he's done. They feel he's done, and it's like he's still there.
Yeah.
Still on the
Well,
sideline. It's like, okay.
he's got a few more weeks, and then he's definitely gone.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, we'll talk a little more about Napoli when we preview our Serie A match of the week. But yeah, I'm not really shocked by Juventus. I'm not really shocked by that. Like you said, Lazio had a dream run to get to there. I have no idea who I want to win this match, though. But we'll preview it probably when it gets closer because that's not until June. But yeah, your semifinals in April, and then June 7th is the final.
I mean, and we'll see what happens with lineups because of whether injuries or who has a true desire to play. I'm sure they all want to play because it's for a cup. So I have to check and see what's happening on the international calendar during close to that time, or if people get called up for whatever crazy reason. But it's all for Juventus to win.
Yeah,
they have the weaponry, but that's the thing about the game. You never know.
Yep, you never know. You never know. I don't think anybody really picked Lazio going into that match either. So we'll see what happens come June 7th. But now we'll move into our preview of the weekend's MLS game. And as I started to allude to, 1 versus 2 in the Eastern Conference. New York Red Bulls, DC United. DC United shockingly first. It's not like it really matters that much right now because all the teams are within about a point of each other.
Yeah.
But DC, it's funny when I was looking at how they've played so far and their results, they've gotten a lot of good results. They even beat LA Galaxy already, who are kind of struggling early. But to me, it was funny that they haven't had any prolific goal scorers or anything, with Eddie Johnson obviously having a lot of issues, and he might not be playing at all. Fabian Espindola is still out until until about mid-May. And a guy we all know in Ohio named Jairo Arieta is technically their tied goal scorer. And I was watching the DC United national broadcast last Friday, and I just I couldn't help but laugh at Paul Caligiuri and whoever else was with him in the booth when they were talking about Jairo as like this great piece for DC. And I'm just like, have they watched his career?
Yeah.
He scores in bunches and it's not very close in bunches. It's like he'll score 4 for the whole year, but it was 2 in the beginning of the year, 2 in the end of the year, nothing in between.
Yeah. It's DC United's best start since 2006.
Yeah.
And I think, and we're starting to see this within the league in terms of the coaching staff, that they don't have this, like DC United doesn't have that prolific goal scorer or hasn't at that juggernaut, but these coaches make it to where they could get a total team effort out of their players. And I'm not an example of that was Vermees the other night with the comeback. They didn't have Zusi, and they didn't have other members, but they found a way to get the job done. Yeah, same with DC United. I mean, Silva is the name that's, if you want to talk about like potential goal scorers, but
the goal last week too.
Yeah, but the key for me right now with DC United is Bill Hamid. Mm-hmm. He's been keeping them in games, and to the point where it gives, anytime you have a defense to back line that keeps you in games. That gives your offense say, hey, we can maybe nick one out of this match. Um, as far as the match this weekend against New York Red Bulls, uh, it's a rivalry match, so they're gonna be going for everything they can, I'm sure.
Easily.
And the way New York Red Bulls has been playing lately, the way they took care of Columbus, it's going to be interesting because they've got speed on that team, that Red Bulls team. Kleshton is, he's like a glue between the defense and offense. It's going to be very interesting.
Well, and one thing we saw firsthand when it came to the Columbus New York match, New York, obviously with Thierry Henry, a lot of it was get Henry the ball, he'll set up Bradley Wright Phillips or whoever, Peguliandua, whoever who was there. Well, as you just mentioned, Sacha Kleshton, they play more of a direct soccer now because they have Dax McCarty right behind Sacha as kind of how we feel about Will Trapp in Columbus is kind of like that engine type of defensive mid that will that's nitty gritty. He'll clean up the garbage and he'll get the ball up to Sacha. The guy that's been impressing me the most, other than Bradley Wright Phillips kind of selling, hey, it wasn't just Thierry, I'm here to stay too. Because 2 goals, 2 assists so far in the year was pretty good without having basically the rap of, hey, all 27 of those goals I had were set up because of Thierry Henry kind of situation. But for me, the guy that I'm really liking watching for them is Lloyd Sama on the right. He's always been an interesting winger, but now he's actually producing a little bit more now that it's not like he just needs to find Thierry and get him the ball. He's actually getting up in the box. He's actually taking some shots. He's providing a little bit more. He's been really an X factor for me on that team because Lloyd Sam's really, even though he's not a younger guy or anything like that, he's really showing his quality for that team. I think if he's going to have a good game, then that means Bradley Wright Phillips will have a good game, Sacha Kleshton will have a good game, and the whole team will have a good game. What are you thinking on this match? What are you thinking score-wise?
Oh gosh, as a neutral, you always want to hope for goals first of all. But you can have an exciting 1-1 or 1-0. I know that again, it's still early in the season to be thinking about playoff positioning and all that. But I like rivalry. I'm a sucker for rivalry matches, so
it's on the list.
I can't pinpoint a score on this because I just want to see 2 teams duke it out.
For me, I really want to just see a draw. I want to see like maybe 2-2, 3-3 type situation like we saw with Vancouver and Columbus. I think New York has the upper hand, honestly, going into this match. I think even though they've only played 3 matches, I think they played really strong in all 3. They're coming off the win against Columbus a couple weeks ago because they were on a bye week also based on Champions League with Montreal. Montreal really messed up our MLS scheduling early on in the year because they had the rearranged things for Montreal CCL play. So it's like some teams are on 5 matches, some teams are on 3 matches. A little thing is the league is a little bit distorted right now because of that. But back on this match itself, I would like to see 2-2. I think it can be 2-2. I think DC needs to stick to their guns on defense, and they will probably trot out a better line than we did against Vancouver. So I think it's probably going to be somewhere around 2-2. I would like to see another Luis Silva amazing goal. I would actually like to see him start, honestly. I don't like this pairing of Pontius and Arrieta because I think Arrieta should be your guy off the bench to give you a little energy later on in the match. And Pontius being kind of a hold-up guy. He's not prolific in any means, but if you have maybe Silva and Pontius next to each other, maybe Pontius will hold up for Silva to get the ball and score some beautiful goals like he did last week on that set piece. But I think 2-2, we're going to probably see Bradley Wright Phillips put one in the net. My guy Lloyd Sam puts one in the net, so we'll see what happens. But I think we're looking at probably about a 2-2 match right there with DC United. Moving on to the next match, going to the West, you have 3 versus 4 in SKC and RSL on Saturday. Javier Morales, even though he's somewhat older, is really thriving in this 4-3-3 that RSL is starting to play with. My favorite thing about this matchup is 4-3-3 versus 4-3-3.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exciting for me. I like to see a lot of. I think 4-3-3 is one of the most attacking formations. I'm not sure how you feel about the formations, but to me, the 4-3-3 is it's got a lot of room for flowing and a lot of room for a center mid to move forward and get into the box and be with the striker. You have the wingers can be able to compress, come in, and cross into the box, or actually move into the box and be a target with the forward. There's so many options in the 4-3-3. So really, I'm looking at this matchup, and I'm hoping, but by just looking at this matchup, I'm thinking goals. A lot of goals. What about you?
Goals and chances,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's with the way that, again, the way that Sporting played in their 3-2 victory over Philly, they can score, and that was without Zusi.
Exactly.
So
it was insane.
This is going to be an intriguing match because of the fact that there won't be Zusi there, and that match gave versus Philly gave Sporting a bit of a mojo, but RSL is RSL.
Oh yeah.
Javier Morales, he's
2 goals and 3 assists so far in the season.
Yeah,
that's pretty amazing. I mean, he's not a younger guy like a Higuain or even Piatti's 29, so he's still a little bit younger. But just to have that good of a start, and honestly, in the 4-3-3, in the position that he's in, right behind the striker, and is that top of the pyramid of the midfield.
Yes,
that to me is actually a really good spot for him. Because he's one of those guys that's quality as a provider and that kind of like second striker guy. So it's almost with the way the free flowing movement of the 4-3-3 is, he can slide in and just be right behind the striker as a second striker if they're playing out wide, or if he needs to kind of maybe move out wide himself and one of the wingers slide in. He's definitely, I think he's key for that team going forward, just because he fits that role perfectly. The guy that I'm intrigued to see if he can adjust to a different position is Luis Gil, because he's a young, up-and-coming American that we all want to see. But if Morales is going to play like this, you're not going to see Luis Gil play.
No.
I think you mentioned not having Zusi, and a guy that, to me, that has just been amazing, Ike Para. He's MLS fantasy players are just like, Ike Para!
Ruling, yes.
Because he's doing it on both sides of the pitch. He's scoring, he's defending well, he's clearing the ball well. So it's one of those situations. It's been a dream start for him in this league so far. It'd be interesting to see what happens for them. SKC has not been. Almost feel they haven't been the SKC of a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and the part of that is Dominic Dwyer. He's got off to a slow start. Many will blame his recent marriage to Sidney LaRue. Maybe they call it the Tiger Woods effect, where you get married and then your performance goes down. But
the Tiger Woods effect. The Masters are going on right now, by the way.
Yeah, right. Ironic. Yeah, so it's like Dwyer, his last couple of games, he did show better. Granted, he didn't finish a lot of those chances, but he is at least putting himself in position to give his other teammates a chance at scoring those goals. I think the key, and I'm going to make my prediction now, I think the key for SKC winning this game is guys like Roger Espinosa.
Okay. I like that.
His return, it helps. Between he and Benny Feilhaber, they help solidify that midfield to the point of where they eliminate a lot of chances of opponents. Another thing is Sporting Park has been kind of a haunted house for RSL since they've never won there. But not saying that there's a first time for everything, but for whatever reason, it's been a jinxed stadium for RSL. So again, because of the way that Morales has been, they still have some Sabarillo. Olave still, formidable in that back line for RSL. It's going to be one to watch, that match.
Yeah. And you mentioned in the last match, Belhamid, and this one's going to have Nick Raimondo in it for RSL. So,
Yeah.
do you have an actual score?
No, I usually don't predict scores. You know what I mean, man? I'll predict the winner, but
yeah. So you're going to say you think SKC's winning? I actually do too. I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be similar to what we saw actually last match in Sporting Park with a 3-2. Maybe not in the last 4 minutes of stoppage time, but right. I really think we're going to see a 3-2 match again, just because, like you said, RSL is kind of like their boogie monster going there. But I think they're still going to score goals with the way Morales has been in form. And like you just mentioned, Sabarillo is doing fairly well at the start, too. So I'm thinking 3-2 SKC. We'll see what happens. Feilhaber, I think, will be the key to that match. You already mentioned a lot of his traits, too, for that team. And he is kind of like the engine that stirs the drink and gets Espinoza open for chances. Moving on to Sunday's matches for MLS, we have it's according to the table, it's not big because it's 5 versus 8. But it's two big teams in the sense that it's the two big spenders. The league loves these two teams, obviously, in LA versus Seattle. Yes. The Keane versus Deuce show is what I'm calling it, or something. We'll come up with a better name for that. I think the thing I'm going to be watching for in this Sunday matchup is Jose Villarreal, because he's been filling that Landon Donovan spot of the offense for LA Galaxy. And he's, to me, doing very formidable. Even though they've lost to DC and had some other issues against the Whitecaps and other teams, I really feel like he's going to be a really good winger in this league. And I think helped going to Liga MX for a year for him, just so that he could get some games in. But just watching him, the way he has the pace down the side and providing to Keane, you see so much potential in that kid. And I think he's going to be a really big X factor on this team because Seattle's defense is shaky right now.
Right.
They're still trying the Brad Evans at center back thing. It's been scary and a joke. And as I mentioned earlier, Tyson Wall being a top 5 worst defender. They have the number 1 guy in Seattle and Zach Scott. So it's one of those situations that it's Chad Marshall. That's about it. Right.
Well,
they're going up against.
Because they really miss Leonardo Gonzalez.
Oh, yes, they do.
And they really do. I think Villarreal, he might be out because of a hamstring, actually.
I did not see that.
The latest injury report I saw, he might.
My apologies if he's out then.
But yeah, this match, I wouldn't be surprised if Seattle wins this match in LA. The reason being, again, momentum is everything in sports.
Oh, and yes.
The way you saw the last match, Dempsey and Femi Martins are starting to beat their old selves again.
Yeah.
Winning
like last year.
Houston. They've combined for all 6 of the goals this year for Seattle. And so it's like nothing's changed in that aspect.
Yeah, exactly. And Deuce has 3 of those 6. So
I'm going to be curious to see what LA's defense is going to do against that. LA's Gonzalez, he hasn't been I don't know what's going on with him. He started out so well in terms of his national team aspirations, and now it's like
it's the World Cup really for him. Ever since the World Cup, I've really not seen anything at all from him. And even during the World Cup, obviously, but even after the second half of last season, he wasn't very strong. He did not look good at all. And then starting this year, it's been very intriguing to see how he does because honestly, their best defender is AJ De La Garza right now. It's not a bad thing. He's good defender, but you expect Omar Gonzalez to be the guy because he's making big money and, like you said, the U.S. men's national team aspirations. I don't know if he's going to have it in him to really stop that 1-2 with Femi Martins and Clint. I think this is going to be another one I look at the calendar and go, hey, there's a lot of goals in this match. I really think that this one's probably going to be like a 3-3 draw, maybe. I don't know. I can't really pick a winner. Do you have a winner at least for us? Do you think
I picked Seattle to win.
Seattle? I'm going to go draw. I really think it's going to be like 3-3 or something like that. I think Keene's going to score at least one or two. Dempsey and Voba are going to get a couple at least, and maybe someone will slide in and get one.
LA have started slowly, so eventually with when you're they're not really in a slump, but they've just been slow by their standards. Yeah. Something's got to give. So if anything, they're gonna obviously be up for this match because of who they're playing. Sure. So a win would do them some good. Again, they're not too worried about. I don't think they're too worried about a slow start because it's a marathon of a season.
Yeah.
But just to beat Seattle is always a good thing in many people's eyes. So they're going to be up for it. And Bruce Arena tactically, again, you got that matchup tactic-wise. Bruce Arena versus City. That's like the historic American soccer rivalry in itself.
The City's just being inducted with Casey Keller and somebody else into the Soccer Hall of Fame too, so he's got that going for him this year too. So moving on. What were we going to say real quick? Is it about this match?
Okay, no, I was going to end in saying that even though that I picked Seattle, if LA comes and pulls a result, it wouldn't be a surprise because of, again, a tactical mind of Bush. So.
Okay, well, moving on to Europe, we have 3 matchups this weekend that we want to touch on. Starting in Germany for Bundesliga, we have this matchup intrigued me just based on the fact that Borussia Dortmund and Borussia Mönchengladbach, they both have had interesting seasons. Gladbach in the sense that they're third, they're going to probably be in the Champions League. They've been very, very fun team actually to watch. Yes. And Dortmund, they have so much talent. And Jurgen Klopp is regarded as one of the best managers in the world. But something's not clicking. I'm not sure what it is there, but they won't be in Champions League next year. They're struggling. They at least got to the next round of the DFB Pokal, but right now they're looking at Marco Reus probably leaving in the summer. Maybe even Mats Hummels. Reus is right now their leading assist man with 5. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is their leading scorer with 12. And on the flip side, Mönchengladbach, Max Kruse, their striker, is 8 assists. And their winger, Patrick Herrmann, is scored 10 so far in this year with a brace not long ago. And the one thing that's fun about Mönchengladbach is they just play a regular 4-4-2 type situation, a flat 4-4-2. And they just pepper you from all over the place.
Yes.
They'll have our guy Fabian Johnson on the left a lot. They have Patrick Herrmann from the right. And then they'll usually do some sort of either the Brazilian Rafael and Max Kruse up top or some sort of other combination. But this, to me, is going to be a fun Bundesliga matchup. Obviously, a lot of people aren't going to be able to watch it unless they find a stream because next year, this coming August, is when we get the Bundesliga on Fox, which I cannot wait for. I don't know about you, Rick.
Yeah, of course. I like Bundesliga.
We both do. We both love the Bundesliga. German Bundesliga, honestly, to me, is the best league right now. Even though it's so lopsided in the trophy sense, with Munich being the strongest team and usually winning every year, from 2 down to like 17 is fairly even when it comes to it. And the NFL fans will always say any given Sunday, even the worst teams like the Browns or the Jaguars can win. Well, even in this league, you got Stuttgart, who's a normally really good team at the bottom of the table, and a team like Hamburg has been struggling over the last year at the bottom of the table. So to me, this is such a fun league. But this matchup especially, I'll be intrigued to see what happens. Lately, Dortmund and Klopp usually run a 4-2-3-1, which is one of my favorite formations in soccer. A lot of different options. It's very defensive and attacking at the same time. Your boy, Shinji Kagawa, playing in the hole right behind Aubameyang. I'm starting to think it's the Kagawa curse.
Oh, my goodness.
Every team he plays on is bad.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this matchup?
I know that Borussia Mönchengladbach, they had a shock exit in the Pokal to
Arminia
Bielefeld. They lost on penalties. So you gotta take that into this equation. They will probably be angry at that because they're not gonna win the league. So that was their closest chance to win some silverware, and they might look to take that against Borussia Dortmund. I know I did read that their coach Favre was mentioning about using that as a motivator to that whole sports psychology thing of somebody's gonna pay for this, and that team they hope is Borussia Dortmund. Dortmund, I know that Aubameyang and Kuba I think they're coming back from injury. They've been training, but will they be playing?
Aubameyang played in that Pokal matchup.
He did play?
Yeah, he did play. Okay. He was back for that. So I think he'll play in this matchup too, probably.
So that could play. That could be an X factor type of thing there.
I think Kuba's still out, so we'll see.
Yeah. As far as Dortmund goes, I think you covered most of what was going on with them. They just want to finish out the season hot and winning and just the way the kind of season they've had. They're inching their way close to your Europa League spot, aren't they?
They're still in 10th, so I'm not sure if they're close enough or not yet. Because I think the lowest Europa League spot is 6 for right now. Because I think they get 1 automatic and 2 qualifying.
Providing.
I think it's 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. I think it's 3. So I think that they need to get up to 6th or 7th. They could do it probably.
Yeah.
I think there's probably enough. I think from what it looks like on the table, there is a decent amount of chances. They just have to win out. I think that's going to be intriguing to see what happens for them based on the fact that they do have a lot of strong players, a lot of star names like Mats Hummels. It'll be interesting if they are able to retain some of these guys. I really think Michael Royce is gone in the in the summer, based on Munich's advances and Ribéry being old. I think they're going to look at him as being the heir apparent for that spot, and that Munich's kind of the team that gets what they want.
I think. Well, you know what? A lot of these rumors and all are surrounding Dortmund. It's going to be interesting to see how Klopp handles that as a team and keeping their focus on where they need to go, because there's always going to be questions asked. Are you leaving? Are you not? That's going to be constant. And right now, again, if there's a chance that they can get into Europa, that would help that team. And in a way, that would help the players who are looking to possibly sell. That would up their stock. Yeah. Not that their stock needed much help, but as far as Dortmund, the club, in terms of upping the price, that could help also, and that in terms helps their bank.
True.
But keeping the focus on being between the lines is going to be interesting to see how Klopp handles all the transfer rumors.
Yeah, that's true. And Mats Hummels came out a couple days ago and even said, he's not really decided on his future. He's keeping the door open for anything. And he said he'll probably decide within the end of the month or so. And it's probably based on what you mentioned. If they have a chance to get into the Europa League, he'll probably stick around. But if they don't, then he's likely gone, in my opinion. He's already 26. He's done a lot already for Dortmund. So it's one of those things, maybe a new challenge can help. Moving on to Serie A, we have an interesting matchup, a team we already talked about a little bit. Actually, 2 teams we already kind of talked about a little bit, in Napoli versus Fiorentina. Right now, Fiorentina is 4th in the league, Napoli 6th.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned a lot of the struggles for Napoli, and these are some things I jotted down really quick. Napoli has not actually won a match since February 23rd in Serie A, and the last match they have won was March 12th against Dinamo Moscow in the Europa League. So looking at that right there, they're really struggling. And Rafa, like we said earlier, he's a dead egg in the sense he's gone. He's the lame duck coach.
Right.
It's really interesting because if you look at their stats leaders, Hamšík, who's not been playing in a while, he's at 8 assists. I believe he's injured still. Gonzalo Higuain with 13 goals. Obviously, he's going to be the guy because they run more of a 4-2-3-1. So if there's only one striker, likely he's going to be the most prolific scorer on the team. And then Florentina has Kuma Babakar with 7 goals and Matias Fernandez with 4 assists. I really honestly think the Viola are going to win this match just based off of the whole lame duck scenario. I really don't, even if Napoli has a better lineup, I really don't expect anything right now out of Rafa, and I really think they're just going to pummel. They're just going to plummet until the end of the year. I don't see anything, and I think La Viola will win this. What do you think, Rick?
The Viola, they are very strong in terms of their, for what I've seen of them, they're a very tough team when they want to be. They can be inconsistent, as we've seen in the league this year in terms of their results, especially at home and in the European stages. But again, this is similar to where when you have a team that is in a quote unquote slump, that can motivate you to say, "Hey, let's take it to Napoli. Let's take it to them." I mean, come on, we got them while they're down. Let's get them now.
Kick them while you're down, and get those last few points because obviously it's April, so the European leagues are running down there at the end. So solidify the space.
On the other side of the coin, though, with Napoli, I did read an article where they're taking some kind of retreat to get away, a training retreat, and they're trying to get their mental, their mental faculties back.
Yeah,
and we'll see if that works, because as many people might not know how the culture is in Napoli, you will literally be you will be known about the way you perform out in the city as a player. So it's best that you do not disgrace the crest,
yeah,
badge or whatever. And so there's that aspect of Napoli needs to do something.
Yes, they do.
They've pretty much lost a segment of their ultra section because of results. They're always going to support Napoli, obviously, but De Laurentiis, he basically threatened some of the players.
Oh, jeez.
If the results do not improve, obviously, whatever.
Well, Rafa will be out.
Yeah, Rafa will be out, and I don't know. Rafa's he's been telling his players to play more with, some kind of tactical acumen. I think that comes down on him, that he falls on that sword.
Yeah. Probably. Go ahead.
This Fiorentina is going to obviously look to rebound from losing.
Yeah.
So
you have Fiorentina winning then?
I think it's going to be a draw.
Really?
I'm going to predict a draw.
I could see that too. I really think Fiorentina, though. I'm going to go 3-1 Fiorentina. That's just not a hunch, just because of the way they're playing. I just don't see it. Although I really would like Napoli personally to start.
Well, yeah, obviously.
Especially because coming into this, you're getting really close to Europa League matchup against Wolfsburg from the Bundesliga. So we obviously know there's going to be a good matchup in Europa League. So if they have good play now, hopefully that'll carry over into Europa League and they'll do fine against them. But that's kind of just my feeling on that. I wanted to talk about this matchup based on Rafa Benitez and the fact that I just can't wait till he's gone.
Yeah, I mean, if he manages to help them eat their way into Europa League place, then I guess that's a mild success.
I don't see it.
It's the way that they've done it. It's just not. I mean, the supporters will probably think the season was a failure. So
yeah. All right, well, let's move on to our last match of the weekend, and this one's a big one in England. It's the Manchester Derby. We talked earlier about Pellegrini being out, and right now Manchester is third in the table, and Manchester City is fourth in the table. So this is a really big matchup for both because they're only about a point from each other. And honestly, I really think with the way United has been playing lately and the way City's been playing lately, I'm
Yeah.
going to go 3-1 United right off the bat. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I really think that they're disjointed with City. I really don't think they're really playing for Pellegrini anymore. I think they're more. There's too many selfish players on that team, in my opinion, right now.
Yes,
And there's
yes, yes, yes.
too many egos in the sense that they're not going to build a strong enough attack because they're going to be peppering goals because they want to pepper them from wherever. Because I want to score like Charlie Adam did for Stoke a week ago or something, or hey, I'm gonna try to just score from 30 yards out. And now I really see a mass exodus this summer for a lot of those star players for City, just because I don't think they're going to finish strong. I think they're still going to make Champions League. I think they're going to at least be third or fourth, but we'll see what happens going forward. Just based on regular their form right now in the league, it's just so bad against bad teams. I shouldn't say bad for Crystal Palace. They're not that bad. It's not like they're playing keep going.
They're surging Crystal Palace.
Yeah, so it's just one of those things, though. You go into a match like that, and we remember last year the team that played Crystal Palace in April and then completely followed on their face was Liverpool last year, and similar result, similar type of situation, except for the fact that Manchester City could have been still in second place going into this match, and they blew it completely, and so I don't think they're going to bounce back at all. I think they're still going to get points going out through the rest of the year. But the main reason for me is, even though I've been a staunch, how do I say that? I've been tearing apart that defense for United for the most part this season. I think that they do just enough to get by. And the attack has been really brewing well these last few months with Mata on the right. Angel Di Maria has not really been much of a factor at all this year. For all that money, he really needs to kind of get it going. I have a feeling that I have a feeling it'll be a situation of where it was like this was the adjustment year, and we'll be moving on to next year as a strong year for him. Rooney has been impeccable up front. Yes. And that's even though he's getting a little older, he's been just great for now. Ander Herrera, now that guy, wow, race last week against a good team, and I just think that they're going to do very well. They've been playing very organized. Daly, not Danny Blind, because everyone calls him Danny. And it's like, that's his father.
I make that mistake too,
Yeah, but Daily Blind, he's been playing very strong on the left side. I see him really more as a central defensive mid player, but for him playing left back right now with Luke Shaw not being 100% and not playing well, I really like what they've been doing with him on the left, Rojo in the center, with Jones. I think that's a decent pairing. I really think they need to upgrade that pairing, but it's been doing, like I said, just enough. Usually with like a Valencia on the right. The guy that, besides Ander Herrera, though, and you know I'm the biggest hater of his in the world, is actually Young.
Oh, right.
I cannot believe it. Ashley Young is playing well. What do you think, Rick?
Well, part of that I think has to do with Van Gaal providing this team with. He's provided that team with some sort of identity, and so with that in mind, every player knows their role and they know what they have to do. And I mean that's where Ashley Young is. He knows his role. He's fitting in, and everything's working good with them. Obviously, when you're winning, good things happen, and it becomes infectious, that winning mentality. Going into this derby, obviously United has to. They're the favorite because of what's going on with City. And it's gonna be, again, I'm a sucker for derby matches, and right. So I don't really, while on paper Manchester United might be the favorite, the game isn't played on paper. So and you mentioned about the egos happening with City. And between that and will they be willing to play for their coach or play for their Premier League table position lives? I'm not sure if they have that in them. They do. Obviously, they have the talent, but they've got to have that mentality to go in and say, "Hey, let's just go ahead on and win this derby." They've got the weaponry with Kun Aguero, um, all the way back to the back where you have company. Um, it,
Company's had it down here.
yeah, yes. And you might blame that on World Cup fatigue still, but I don't really buy into that too much. But yeah, it's intriguing. I'm predicting United will win it.
Okay.
Um, because like I say, I'm a sucker for momentum and what's going on. When you have too many distractions in your,
True.
and you know how it is. I mean, you know how it is on the job. There's too many distractions. You're not going to
Exactly.
perform too well. And pressure, you got so much pressure. The good teams will overcome that, but I don't think they've got too much going on. Like you say, the egos, the coach. It's United's to win, I think.
Well, and something you just kind of mentioned too is with the egos and the coach. Another thing I was just thinking about is it doesn't really seem like in the back, because we just talked about Company and how he's had a down year. I really don't think he's a good partnership with Mangala. I really like Mangala as a player, but I don't think he's the right guy to have next to Vincent Company. I think they're more of the similar type of players at the back, and I think that's really hurt them in a way.
Yeah, because they need somebody that's going to be able to not only control the ball but also control it with a sense of urgency to push. And and if they both either have that aspect or one of them does not want to maintain whatever in the back, then you're going to not have a cohesiveness.
True.
In that midfield.
True.
And there's something not working in that midfield for Manchester City.
Well, I'm gonna do like I said 3-1 right off the bat. I think that's what's gonna happen. You'd mentioned momentum, and honestly, history shows more often than not that the momentum team does win.
Yeah,
it's the only time they usually don't is when they're both momentum teams. Because we saw that in the United and the Liverpool matchup, in the sense that Liverpool had not lost since losing to Manchester United,
right?
And then United was doing well up until that match, anyways.
So something had to give, yes.
Exactly. So you can't. It would either be a draw if you neither would win. So, but I really think like you said, United's to win. And that's our weekend so far for this week. We will be back next Tuesday to review a little bit of what happened over the weekend. Any shock results, any shock goals. Talk a little bit about maybe our golazo of the week for both of us. And also next Wednesday, something we'll preview for people out there that like to watch the U.S. men's national team. There's a match down in San Antonio. Am I right with that? San Antonio?
Yes.
Yes, San Antonio, USA versus Mexico. So that's going to be an interesting crowd being so close to Mexico.
Interesting crowd and interesting talking piece, no matter results, especially as results to a certain coach.
But it'll be a fun matchup. We'll preview that a little bit more on Tuesday. And actually, since we're doing Tuesdays and Thursdays, hopefully that preview will be up before that match on Wednesday, and we'll be reviewing it the next day and be on with that. But till we meet again, I've been Nick Prokop, and this has been the Corner Kick with Nick and Nick. Rick?
This is obviously Rick Thomas, and to all those out in the world of the World Wide Web and everywhere else in the corners of the world, invest in the beautiful game of soccer. Plenty going on all over the world.
Totally agree. All right. See you later. Till we meet again, I said.
Invest in soccer.